As nationwide calls for racial justice and police reform continued this week, legislation in Washington reached a stalemate. A Republican-backed police reform bill was blocked by Senate Democrats. And while House Democrats did pass a bill, the legislation is likely dead on arrival in the Senate. We want to return now to our conversation with Vice President Pence. What do you hear the protesters saying when they protest?
Well, it's been a focus of ours since the tragic killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. There's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd, but there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting and violence that ensued. Look, the president engaged law enforcement leaders. We've sat down with leaders in the African-American community. I've met with leaders in the African-American community and law enforcement in cities around this country. And what I hear is while the radical left says we need to defund the police, what the American people want is for us to fund the police with additional training and support, and also improve the lives of the people in our African-American community, which I'm proud to say, under President Trump's leadership, we were doing over the last 3 years. We don't need to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our African-American neighbors. We can do both, and that's how we bring our country together.
One thing protesters would like to hear is leaders say Black Lives Matter. You won't say that. Why?
All my life, I've been inspired by the example of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. When I was in Congress, I traveled to his home church in Montgomery. With Congressman John Lewis, I walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge on the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. I cherish the progress that we have made toward a more perfect union for African Americans throughout our history. And I've aspired throughout my career to be a part of that ongoing work. It's really a hard issue for me. And as a pro-life American, I also believe that all life matters, born and unborn. But what I see in the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement is a political agenda of the radical left that would defund the police, that would
leave that out of it, just
tear
the
down
phrase.
Monuments, that would press a radical left agenda that and support calls for the kind of violence that has beset the very communities that they say that they're advocating for. I've literally met with African American leaders around this country and in the national capital area who made it clear to us they want law and order, they want peace in our streets.
So you won't say Black Lives Matter?
John, I really believe that all lives matter.
Okay.
And that's where the heart of the American people